Released by Square Enix in the year 2013 on the PC and PlayStation 3, Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn would be a replacement MMORPG for the unpopular 2010 launch of Final Fantasy XIV. Directed by Naoki Yoshida, who was previously on the Dragon Quest MMO team, and written by Kazutoyo Mahiro, the game would be a direct sequel to the 1.0 iteration, but the 2.0 reboot would overhaul nearly every facet of the game. For story, the game features the Warrior of Light as they deal with new foes and factions threatening the realm of Eorzea as it yet recovers from a catastrophe years ago. For gameplay, while most of its MMO conventions would directly translate from its contemporaries, Final Fantasy XIV had a design initiative to be a full game able to be enjoyed by the single player with quality standards expected of the brand name, such as a polished cinematic storyline, high-quality art aesthetic, and a robust soundtrack. At the same time, genre best practices were borrowed or implemented to appeal to the hardcore MMORPG player as well as be comfortable to a new or casually invested player at the same time. The main story will be continued past 2.0 during major patch or expansion updates. Before this video, only the 2.0 story campaign will be covered. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. As the game begins, the falling red moon Dalamud looms over the realm of Eorzea, fragments bombarding the lands below. In order to stop the catastrophe from landing, the combined army of the Eorzean Alliance clashes with the 7th Imperial Legion over the flats of Carteneau. Several adventurers of Acclaim would fight to buy time for the Archon Louisoix to cast a spell to save them all, but as the moon fragmented as it sank, within it burst out the rageful primal Bahamut. As it began razing the battlefield of friend and foe alike, Louisoix would try his best to stand up to the awesome power of the Dreadworm. Aided by the prayers prepared by the members of his Circle of Knowing, the Archons empower their leader to call upon the power of the 12 gods in an attempt to reseal Bahamut within a new prison of their making. However, Bahamut proves too powerful for even this, preparing a terror flare to destroy everyone. Moving quickly, Louisoix would gather what warriors he could and send them away with his lingering power, carrying them away to a future of a realm reborn. As they lose sight of their savior, the warriors find themselves in a new but familiar land, quickly moving out to meet it. As some time passes, the warrior has a vision of facing down a mysterious red-masked foe and striking them down with a weapon of concentrated light, and waking up from this dream, they are welcomed by a grizzled man named Brent who welcomes him to the region. Observing trouble between the problematic local guards, the Brass Blades, and the more problematic lizardmen, the Amalja, he beckons to two other travelers in the cart with them who do not speak much. As this is the adventurer's first time to the city-state of Ul'dah, Brent explains the Dryland City is ruled by a sultana and the royalists, but an elite organization called the Syndicate within the wealthy rival faction called the Monetarists really holds all the power of the city-state. After being introduced to the Adventurers Guild, the warriors told how 5 years have passed since the Lesser Moon broke open to reveal the primal Bahamut who brought calamity to the realm. Strangely, no one can quite remember what happened exactly after that, nor the exact identities of the heroic adventurers who saved the day, dubbed the Warriors of Light. After doing some odd jobs in Ul'dah, the warrior helps save Lalafell from a monster with the help of a roguish man named Thancred. The warrior spots a strange crystal left behind by the monster, and picking it up is hit by a strange vision of securing one of 6 crystals as fire rains from above. Addressed as the Crystal Bearer, the warrior is met by a large crystal introducing itself as Hydaelyn, asking them to save the realm from the life-ending darkness that encroaches upon it as light diminishes. To banish the darkness, the warrior must lay claim to the other crystals of light, and as a colossal crystal rises before them, it assures the adventurer light dwells in the hearts of them and others. As the warrior comes to, Thancred believes it was a creature from the void that attacked them and wonders who summoned it, leaving to report this as the lady returns with the warrior to the city. Later on a job, the warrior catches word of a new mineral vein laid claim under the Syndicate's nose, and escorting the surveyor there learns it's a trap by dirty brass blade guards working for Lord Lolorito and the Syndicate. However, a cloakman hiding to the side summons a golem to attack everyone there, and is astonished the warrior fells the creature single-handedly. As the masked man retreats, Thancred arrives late to the scene as the warrior suddenly relives a memory of Thancred, seeing him investigate recent raids to secure crystals for the purpose of summoning a primal. He also laments other problems plaguing the city, trusting in the judgment of Louisoix, and tracking ether disturbances with a unique pair of goggles. Back in the present, Thancred confirms this was a trap by Lord Lolorito, well known to arguably be the wealthiest and most influential man in Ul'dah. Investigating the seedy underbelly of the city, the warrior helps root out some of the more corrupt individuals in the Brass Blades, leading to helping recover the stolen crown of the Sultana. In doing so, the warrior encounters the masked mage again, who claims the adventurer endangers their own plans and must die, but is defeated as Thancred identifies them as a member of the Bringers of Chaos, also known as the Ascians. Thancred himself is from the scholarly nation of Sharlayan, noting the warrior's unique gift and the multiple times they seem to be present for these disturbances. The warrior's deeds catch the ears of Raoban, the Flame General of the Immortal Flames Grand Company, as well as Sultana Nanamo, who was previously the lady they saved, who personally invites and thanks the adventurer at a banquet. Raoban senses something familiar about the warrior, likening the adventurer to the heroes who fought the Primals and were lost at the Battle of Carteneau. Suddenly, a glimpse into Raoban's memories reveals he was one of the Grand Company commanders of the battle as it took place, and a shadowy red-masked man like the one the warrior saw in an earlier vision was present as well. Afterwards, the 5-year anniversary of that fateful day is coming up, and the warrior is asked by the Alliance leader to be an envoy and ask the other leaders of the Alliance for their participation in a memorial service to honor the fallen. At the same time, in the Garlean Empire, Legatus Gaius, general of the 14th Imperial Legion, reflects how 15 years ago his mighty airship fleet was thwarted in their path of conquest over Eorzea, earning only a Pyrrhic victory over the Dread Serpent Midgard-Sormr. And then 5 years ago, though failing again to claim Eorzea when even Meteor devastated the land, Gaius is still a firm believer in their mission to bring order to ignorant masses that riddle the realm. To the side, 3 of his top officers stand at attention as a large creature is airdropped into the base, and not missing a beat, the head of the intelligence division, Nero, roots out a spy in their midst attempting to glean information on the secret project. Elsewhere, as the warrior charters a vessel to the seaside city of Limsa Lominsa, they are met by a familiar-looking man named Brennan who warns them that scurvy pirates, kobold beastmen, and fishmen called Sahagin raid the coast. Mingling with the headstrong folk on the docks, the warrior finds themselves looking into a kidnapping case when they bump into a cultured conjurer named Y'shtola, who is intrigued to observe the adventurer having a vision of a towering crystal. Later, the warrior saves a man who wants to get out of the pirate life as a tattooed raider looks over to another masked cloaked man who summons a monster to attack them. After defeating it, the conjurer sees it was a plot by the Sahagin, and the warrior gets a glimpse into Y'shtola's memories now, where they see the tribes here are also seeking to summon primals, and Y'shtola also hails from Sharlayan. Helping out the local farms and shipwrights, the warrior helps resolve an assault by a gang behind the kidnappings working for the Primal Leviathan, only for a masked mage to summon a gargoyle to try and kill the adventurer. The warrior defeats them both with the help of Y'shtola, who hears the mage mention the Paragons, knowing this is another term for the Ascians. Earning the appreciation of the Maelstrom Grand Company, Admiral Merylvib comes out to greet the warrior personally. Raising a toast to the warrior, both Y'shtola and the Admiral notice the light of the adventurer's crystal, and Merylvib confirms the warrior is a vessel of a higher power and the entity they saw was the Mother Crystal Hydaelyn. The warrior then gives the Admiral the Flame General's message of a memorial service to honor the fallen of Carteneau, and she agrees that as their enemies converge at their gate, they too must do something to unite the people on their side. Joining Raoban in his plan to rally the people, Merylweb assumes the warrior will be going to Gridania next, asking the adventurer to pass along the message to the elder Seed Seer there that a wolf has been sniffing around the stables. Arranging transportation to the woodlands of Gridania, the warrior is met by yet another familiar-looking man by the name of Brement, who is visited by some playful Moogles who are delighted the adventurer is uniquely able to see them unlike normal people. They go on their way as the warrior also sees there is local trouble here too with the Birdman tribe called the Ixal. Checking in with the Adventurers Guild, the warrior learns there is an apprehensive isolation to the Black Shroud Forest caused by bandits of the road and the Garlean Empire to the north, resulting in an air of distrust against outsiders from the locals. To build rapport, the warrior lends a hand in the effort to restore the Twelveswood to its former glory, helping to track down a suspicious instigator when they are met by a Moogle named Kuplokop, a mage named Papalymo, and a martial artist named Ida armed with the same ether-scanning goggles as Thancred and Y'shtola. Kuplokop is the same Moogle met from the carriage ride and vouches for the warrior as they team up to defeat a mob of riled Treants only to discover an Ixal chieftain behind the attack. Investigating further, the warrior rescues some conjurers from a sabotage ritual, once again running into a masked mage who summons a golem on them. Prevailing, the warrior sees Ida and Papalymo arrive on scene as well, where the adventurer sees into their memories to learn Papalymo observing the Crimson Moon Dalamud is directly causing the etheric disturbances rippling across the realm. The Garlean-founded chaos has resulted in the dying crops in Ul'dah, to the shifting tides of Limsa Lominsa, and the size and behavior abnormalities of creatures throughout. The duo also utilize tech for the land of Sharlayan, and note that the Ixals are operating under the Savage Garuda, while the Sylphs have responded by summoning Ramuh for protection before. Papalymo adds the Twelvewoods are the domain of the Guardian Elementals and personally feels a strange case of familiarity to the warrior. Resolving problems at the local Chocobo farm, the warrior heads off an Ixal invasion plot, during which they encounter and defeat another masked mage with his dark summon here too. Papalymo and Ida arrive to confirm this to be another plot of the Ascians, earning the warrior a personal visit and thanks from the Gridanian Grand Company's Kane Senna. Having earned the city's trust, she nominates the warrior as mankind's representative to the Guardian Elementals, and during the ensuing ceremony learns of the adventurer's direct connection to Hydaelyn. She also identifies the warrior's unique power as one called the Echo, as the warrior then shares the memorial ceremony idea with her, as well as the coded message from the Admiral. She recounts the history of their Imperial neighbors, infamous of their campaign of conquest as well as Magitech, though the man who led all of this is now old and feeble, as the question of succession is still unresolved. This has staggered the Empire's activity in recent years, allowing the rest of Eorzea a window to rebuild. However, leading the Imperial Legion is the capable Legatus Gaius von Balzar, and as such, Kane Senna sees the need for the realm to unite once again to weather the coming storm. Traveling back to report the success of the Envoy mission, the warrior finds themselves, like other aspiring adventurers, teaming up to tackle the bigger challenges to each city, such as the pirates in Sahagin and Limsa Lominsa, a doomsday cult in Gridania, and giants in Ul'dah. However, the warrior also sees what happens to adventurers ill-prepared and biting off more than they can chew. Encountering an obnoxious merchant, the warrior finds her echo power able to clear the name of an accused woman by peering into her past, and this is observed by Thancred, who invites them to meet with his colleagues, the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, to meet someone with the same power. The warrior is also met by the failed adventurer named Ada they spotted earlier, whose fiancé died and whose severed head she still carries. Learning more about the Scions, the warrior decides to pay the group a visit in their headquarters, the Waking Sands, seeing the companions that have all vouched for them to their leader, Minfilia. She has heard much of the warrior's exploits and verifies they have the power of the Echo, explaining how they can step into another being's mind and soul and observe and interact with their memories like they were there. Though this memory is strong within the warrior, she adds it is not one that can be used on demand, knowing this as she too possesses the Echo. Minfilia firmly believes the Echo will be crucial in their plan to dealing with the primal threat looming over the realm, offering the influence and resources of the Scions in exchange for the warrior helping them with their cause. She also mentions Sharlayan, which used to be one of Eorzea's 6 major city-states and holds such powerful and ancient knowledge and magic that even the Garleans know not to bother them. When chaos gripped the land and most Sharlayans returned home, a few stayed behind for the benefit of Eorzea, including the allies the warrior has met thus far. Agreeing to join the Order, the adventurer also meets Urianger and Tataru, who help manage affairs here as they quickly get to work investigating an Almagian effort to summon their primal Ifrit. Teaming up with Thancred, the warrior finds the obnoxious merchant is behind a kidnapping ring for sacrifices, though tricks the adventurer and their flame soldier backup into capture. Offered as sacrifices, the Amalja zealots call forth the primal, who breathes a blue flame to claim the souls of those before it, including the merchant. Strangely, the warrior is unaffected by the blaze, and recognizing this anomaly, Ifrit sets upon the warrior. However, the fiery foe is fastly felled, and leaves behind a crystal of light the warrior adds to their collection. Thancred arrives late to clean up stragglers, but is astonished the warrior was able to overcome such a hurdle on their own. Both are unaware Nero is looking on, though is accompanied by another commander named Livia, who sternly advises him to stay focused on his mission. Returning to the Waking Sands, Minfilia is also impressed at the exploits of the warrior already, and wonders how this incident links to similar problems in Gridania and Limsa Lominsa involving crystals, as crystals are a concentrated form of ether that primals need to sustain themselves in the physical realm. Once manifested, primals gain strength by the amount of followers they have, either by choice or by tempering their will. However, a unique aspect of the Echo power is that it makes one immune to primal influence like tempering. Though the case is closed here, Thancred adds to the side the unpleasant truth that all others that were tempered, from the innocent guard to the obnoxious merchant, will all be killed, as there is no way to reverse the tempering and they cannot accept the risk of empowering the primals. At this time, messengers from the 3 grand companies of Eorzea all burst in, eager to recruit the warrior into their fold. Opting to decide after hearing each leader's message during the memorial, the warrior finds each company leader uses the memorial for an opportunity to address their nation and rally their people against the troubles they face. Among the crowd is the same pair of twins that were with the adventure when they started their journey. They introduce themselves now as Alphino and his cynical sister Alize, who are not as taken in by the memorial speeches and explain the meaning behind each grand company's banner. As they part ways, both siblings express their distaste with which history was rewritten in a narrative colored by the grand company's flags, omitting the Warrior of Light and true heroes. Alphino is fine with leaving the past behind in order to look ahead and heal, but Alize refuses to tolerate the insulting revisionist history. Seeking another way to solve the world's problems, she storms off, and both agree they will find their own means to reaching the same goal. Enlisting with a company, the warriors put on assignment immediately, rescuing 2 engineers named Biggs and Wedge who survived their ship being shot down by Imperials. The Imperials note this ship, called the Tiny Bronco, is a new model from the traitor engineer Sid, who has also gone missing. Succeeding, it turns out Biggs and Wedge were on their way to lend their Magitech expertise to the Scions anyway, and after welcoming them to the group, the Warriors quickly assign their next investigation. It turns out the Sylphs have not yet summoned their primal Ramu, and the Gridanians want the Scions to speak to the Sylphs and maintain harmonious relations. Along with Papalymo and Ida, the Warrior finds the Sylphs are also dealing with hostile Sylphs who have been tempering their own into thralls. In rescuing the missing Elder Sylph Phrixio, the Warrior also runs into the Red Masked Man again, introducing himself as La Habrea, an Ascian and servant to the one true god. He mentions the Warrior's echo ability is all that stands between this world and darkness, and leaves, saying their death will also mark the beginning of the end for the Crystal. Saving Phrixio, the Warrior's echo ability allows them to see Nero and the Imperials after the Calamity, attempting to antagonize the Sylphs into summoning Ramu, but struggling. Phrixio clarifies that though she advised against it, many Sylphs went to summon Ramu anyway back then and became touched ones for it, but assures Gridania this was not an act of aggression towards them and will not summon Ramu, and wishes to maintain peace with the city. As a symbol of trust, Phrixio hands the Warrior the crystal they were gifted when Ramu was summoned, and the adventure adds it to their collection. Reporting back to the Scions, Minfilia is alarmed to hear the name La Habrea and prioritizes learning more of his group's plot as the Sylph leader sends them an envoy of their own. Asking each of the Grand Companies for information on the Masked Men, the Immortal Flames producer lead first. Ensuing investigation leads the Warrior to the lawless refugees of the fallen nation Alamigo, first earning the trust of the wary people, and learning a masked man recently tried to trick the restless youth into summoning their god of destruction. Later, a lead from the Twin Adders and Gridania about dangerous men in masks leads the Warrior to resolving a noblewoman who has resorted to consorting with the masked men and demons while murdering maidens. Reporting back, Minfilia is concerned the organization is openly admitting they are gauging the Warrior's strength, but now mentions the Maelstrom Grand Company asks for their help now. It turns out the kobolds on the coast have just summoned Titan, and the Scions are tasked to slay the Primal immediately. Unfortunately, they know next to nothing about Titan, and the last force that defeated it, called the Company of Heroes, has disbanded without leaving detailed records. Traveling with Y'shtola to Limsa Lominsa, they meet with Merylwib, who repeats their dire situation. However, Y'shtola points out the kobolds did not summon their primal unprovoked, as the Lominsans were the ones to break their treaty, plunder the kobold lands, and spill their blood first. The Admiral admits this is true, but it doesn't change the fact they need to work together to defeat the primal. Finding one of the old Company of Heroes members, Y'shtola bargains for the information on how to enter Titan's lair, as the veteran warns them each victory against the primal always costs them good people. To prove the Warrior can even stand against the Lord of Crags, the veteran has the adventurer prove their worth to his colleagues and himself, and the Warrior passes their trials and gains their approval. To prepare for battle, a feast is prepared, and the Warrior makes sure to take in the local scenery and cuisine before learning the secret means at Titan's lair. Learning they use an aetheryte crystal held by the kobolds, the same ones used for normal fast travel, Y'shtola also hears it was another Sharlayan who guided them straight to Titan's chamber this way. Speculating how the first person did it, Y'shtola proves she is worth her salt in accomplishing the same, as the Warrior is sent ahead and the kobolds riot at the intrusion. Calling forth Titan, the Primal scolds the Warrior and reminds them the pirates went too far with greedily raiding the kobold lands, but the adventurer stands their ground, toppling the mighty foe before it can wreak its vengeance. As the Warrior is victorious, they claim the Crystal of Light left behind by Titan as the kobolds retreat, and looking on as Nero again. The intelligence officer is impressed by the battle data gained from Titan as he turns to another of Gaius' trusted officers, Redatin, and announces they will proceed with their plan. La Habrea agrees their project stands to be the greatest power Eorzea has ever seen, but to the side comments on what a fool Nero is. He catches Y'shtola spying on to the side, though leaves, as she confirms the Ascians not only can teleport at will, but are also working with the Empire. Returning to the Waking Sands to report their victory, the Warrior is shocked to find the headquarters ransacked and almost everyone inside killed. The envoy of the Sylphs is still alive among the bodies on the ground as they speak to the Warrior, which triggers their echo power. The Warrior sees moments before when Imperial troops somehow blitzed the hideout led by Commander Livia, who already knew the Warrior had already felled Titan and demanded their capture. Minfilia surrendered on the terms they spared the others and stated the Warrior wasn't here. Seeing she was right, Livia accepted Minfilia's surrender, but did not accept her terms, capturing the noteworthy staff here and killing everyone else, including the Sylph envoy who tried to protect Minfilia. Back in the present, the Sylph dies while passing along a message from Minfilia to meet at a certain church. Following the instructions, the Warrior finds an ally to the Scions there who has known Minfilia since she was a child, and informs them of her capture by the Garleans. The pastor promises to help, introducing them to a man named Marcus, who was a survivor of the Battle of Cartano, though there are large gaps in his memory now. Marcus is strangely adept at handiwork and machinery, though even he does not know why he has these skills. Keeping a low profile, the warrior assumes the somber task of cleaning up all the dead bodies in the hideout, helping transport them to a mass grave, and paying respects to the fallen. Marcus then mentions he notices he is being watched, and the warrior confirms the Imperials are spying on him, when at this time, Alphinaud enters the church, explaining the Imperials are spying on Marcus because Marcus is actually the greatest engineer in the realm, Cid Garland. Hearing his name, a headache comes over Marcus as he senses this to be true. The pastor hands Cid the tools and gear that were found with him initially to confirm this, as Alphinaud reveals he is also a scion of the Seventh Dawn and the grandson of Louis Soix, carrying on his fight against the Primal and Imperial foes. Though their base has been compromised and their members scattered or dead, and with the city-states believing them to be gone, he reminds them their mission as scions still remains, as they must now face their greatest threat yet, the primal Garuda, freshly summoned by the Ixal. To even get to her is an ordeal, as her sanctuary is in the sky, warded by fierce winds, for which Alphinaud declares they need Cid's airship. Cid's memory is still spotty, unaware he has an airship, but the scholar already has a lead on his ship, the Enterprise. As Cid gears up himself and his resolve, their search leads them to the snow-capped highlands of Korthus to the north and the city-state of Ishgard, heavily steeped in the Ishgardian church orthodoxy and its war on dragons. Finding the nation cold but courteous to outsiders, the warrior finds themselves involved in Ishgardian politics as they help a Lord Haurchefant root out a Dravanian allied heretic posing as a church inquisitor to take advantage of the Ishgardians' blind faith and have countless many of them killed as revenge for the many dragons they have slain. Restoring the honor of the knights and earning the favor of the lords, the warrior gains new allies and access to the keep where the Enterprise has been resting for years, though the area is still full of hostile dragons. As they try to sidestep the large dragon sleeping before it, La Habrea appears to comment on their goal to take down Garuda next, amused to see them try, and disturbs the sleeping beast while leaving. Felling the dragon, the warrior reclaims a fifth crystal of light as Cid gets the Enterprise working just enough to leave, still amazed he is somehow subconsciously able to operate it. Docking for repairs at Gridania, Cid observes that Garuda forms her wind barrier by controlling her elemental ether and suggests they can neutralize it if they change the element of the barrier to one she cannot control with a crystal. Requiring a corrupted crystal, the warrior ventures to the Isles of Umbra, where their attempts to harvest one are contested by a siren looking to add the adventure to their thralls of drowned sailors. Defying her song, the warrior is able to obtain a crystal, but of the wrong elemental property. Fortunately, they are able to rip the correctly aligned one from the guts of a certain Spriggan, and as Cid finishes up his repairs, they quickly launch the Enterprise and boldly go forward to the Harpy Queen. As they fly, Cid finds himself in self-reflection, taking off his goggles to reveal his third eye and recalling he was once on this ship with adventurers like the warrior. Triggering an echo, the warrior sees Cid was once a prodigious young man born and raised in the seat of the Garlean Empire, Garlemald, living in the shadow of his father who was also a genius engineer. However, Cid and his father began to drift apart when his father became obsessed with Meteor, and it was then Gaius stepped into Cid's life to support him like a second father. Though, Gaius was consumed by a different obsession, and wanting no part of it, Cid and his assistants Biggs and Wedge fled the Empire to set up the ironworks in Eorzea. During which, a being in bright light would gift him the goggles he wore ever since, and he would begin a path to apply his knowledge for a nobler purpose. As his memories return to him, he turns to realize the light he saw that night was the same warrior of light before him, and explains all pure-blooded Garleans have a telltale third eye, which he assumes helped recognize them. His amnesia lifted, he recalls his name, history, and purpose, and is reinvigorated, adeptly landing the airship safely between the storm. Witnessing the mighty Garuda, they also notice the zealous Ixal have Amalja and Kobold prisoners to the side, which seems an odd action. Clashing with the Wind Primal, the warrior edges out a win, but the worship of the Ixal empowers her once again. Boasting, she entraps the warrior in a whirlwind, but the light within the adventurer bursts out, knocking back Garuda and dispelling the storm immediately. Staggered by the blow, a sixth crystal of light is extracted from Garuda and claimed by the warrior, and from the side, the Imperial Legatus Gaius is there to mock Garuda's power. He hails Cid and challenges the Ixal, easily gunning down all who approach him. Furious, Garuda tries to temper the warrior, and seeing this fail, turns her attention to the prisoners, as they in turn sacrifice their energy to summon their primals in defense. Succeeding, the two primals take to the field and face down Garuda together, as Alphinaud senses this is all wrong and Cid agrees, ordering their retreat. Declaring victory for the Empire, Gaius now orders his secret project to be deployed, as a massive creature is dropped down on a Efreet, wherein it quickly seizes the primal, consumes its ether, and adds its power to its own. It then turns to face Titan, who begins to charge, but with a single blow the weapon stops the primal in its tracks and effortlessly consumes it as well, powering up again with new armor. Staring down a shocked Garuda now, Gaius explains the ancient Allag had ways to defeat primals, and this ultimate weapon will do the same. She tries to flee, but the ultimate weapon is too quick despite its bulk, easily grabbing her, consuming her, and gaining new wings. After the show of strength, Gaius lays down an ultimatum to the leaders of Eorzea for their immediate surrender, and leaves, reminding them there are no warriors of light to save the day this time. The group is amazed at the mechanical devil, but Cid is more amazed how firepower of that magnitude was accomplished by the Empire in the last 5 years, much less without the Alliance's detection whatsoever. Alphinaud has no answer, but on the bright side, mentions at least Garuda is dealt with, and no tribe will dare summon their own primal for the time being. Returning now to the Waking Sands to figure out where to start rebuilding, the group finds Yda there, who was out when the others were captured, and Alphinaud suggests Gaius is interested in learning more about Minfilia's echo power that defends one against tempering. Waiting for Y'shtola's return, the warrior receives a warning from Hydaelyn against the Red Masked Man, but also assurance the light will be their shield. Soon after, Y'shtola indeed arrives with information on where Minfilia and the rest of the Scions are, in an Imperial stronghold in the heart of Gordona, Castrum Sentry. Knowing this, the goal to rescue their comrades is clear, but planning a prison break of this scale requires heavy planning and preparation. From their Ishgardian allies, they also hear Biggs and Wedge have already made an escape attempt and are on the run from the Imperials, and they hurry to rescue them. At the same time, Nero reports to Gaius and the other commanders the final preparations for Ultima Weapon are nearly complete, and Gaius is glad to see their goal of a land without false gods nearly arrived. He points out the leaders of Eorzea are so weak they struggle to secure safety and stability for their ignorant masses, and deploys Praefectus Riedeton to command the entire western front and eliminate all who would interfere with their plan, while ordering Livia to his quarters in 1 hour. Saving Biggs and Wedge from their pursuers, both are shocked and relieved to see their mentor Cid alive and well after so long. Y'shtola brings up the Ascians are helping the Imperials and explains their teleportation magic is what allowed them to infiltrate and massacre the Waking Sands unopposed. With the Garland Ironworks crew reassembled, Cid suggests they disguise themselves as Imperial guards and march through the front door, collecting the guard uniforms and even hijacking a Magitech armor Reaper to complete the ruse. Their Reaper is in need of a new core, though Wedge suggests replacing it with a Mammoth Heart, which would also grant sentience to the automaton. After securing one thanks to Alphinaud, the Reaper rumbles to life, indeed with a mind of its own. After it sees the warrior risk their life to protect it from Imperials, it not only seems cooperative to help, but also seems to favor the warrior in particular. Tagged now as part of the team, Biggs and Wedge join the Reaper and Warrior as part of the infiltration team, as Cid and Alphinaud will provide a distraction if needed, and Yda and Y'shtola will cover their escape. Within the fortress, Livia roughs up Minfilia before she is prepped for transport, but after she leaves, still offers herself up in exchange for Papalymo, Tataru, and Urianger, but her threats are ignored. Upon seeing Tataru in trouble, a smitten Wedge is emboldened to take action, piloting the mech into combat and helping to rescue their allies. Papalymo notices Thancred is the only one unaccounted for, and as Livia hears of the prison break, Y'shtola and Yda flank her, revealing they snuck in on a Phantom train freight car, but pull back when the odds are not in their favor. Adeptly evading capture, the ladies give Livia the slip, as with the main group, Wedge covers their flank on his own. Fighting their way out, the group is pushed into a corner and finds themselves at the end of a line of gunblades, though Y'shtola dashes in just in time to shield them from the hail of bullets, while Yda breaks up their firing lines blow by blow. Reunited once again, the Scions watch each other's backs as they fight with their backs to a cliff's edge, as even Wedge is forced to abandon the Reaper. Acting on its own, when the Magitech Reaper sees the warrior in danger, it stays behind and distracts the Imperials as best it can. With this window, Cid tells them to jump off the cliff together as he swoops in with the Enterprise in time to safely extract them all. Stepping in, Gaius is there with the Ultima Weapon to prevent their escape as Cid barely dodges a shot from the monster. Minfilia explains it is an ancient Allag relic excavated from beneath Ala Mhigo that the Allagans used to crush friend and foe alike, and the Empire seeks to do the same. What more, standing next to Gaius is Lahabrea, who unmasks himself to have been Thancred this entire time. Pressured by Ultima Weapon, Cid focuses on escape as the group deals with the shock of Lahabrea being among them this entire time, informing the enemy of their every move and location. Frustrated but remaining composed, Alphinaud suggests on reintroducing their group to the Alliance leaders who believe them dead, and showing them they still have a chance at victory and a cause for hope. At the same time, the Alliance leaders, as well as the Sultan of Ul'dah, meet together to discuss the ultimatum left to them by Gaius, though the Archbishop of Ishgard already declares its refusal to cooperate with the Council. Per his terms, Gaius proclaims having a proven method of ridding the realm of primals, and extends this protection to them all should they yield to him, otherwise he will destroy them alongside the primals. Nanamo reminds the council they need to be unanimous as they must all commit to surrender together or resist together, else they will surely fall together. However, doubt plagues the discussion as Kane Senna points out that if the combined might of 3 primals means nothing to Ultima Weapon, what meaningful resistance can they realistically put up as they already struggle to suppress the tribal strife within their own borders? The Admiral agrees, pointing out they lose so much just to defeat a single primal only for it to be easily summoned again and sees no victory in the battle of attrition. She clarifies she doesn't mean to trade one tyrant for another, but perhaps compromise does not mean an end to their valued liberties. Raubahn calls out their timid talk for surrender, but admits even Ul'dah struggles to keep up with the rising amount of refugees draining the city dry and the beastmen swarming the lands. Nanamo points out each of them may have failed to uphold many promises to their people, and Gaius is right to accuse them of being ineffective, but counters that each of them also holds the well-being of their people first and foremost. Meanwhile, Gaius does not care about their people and has instead invested in their destruction, not reconstruction. As they lament the loss of the Scions, Alphinaud, Minfilia, Cid, and the Warrior all enter the chamber, proving reports of their demise have been greatly exaggerated. Alphinaud proclaims surrender is not the Eorzean way, as Minfilia and Cid stoke the flames of hope in each of them. Agreeing and ashamed to consider surrender, the Elder Seedseer rises up and is the first to declare war on the Empire, despising war but despising those who threaten their homeland even more. Delighted, the Sultana and Flame Generals stand up as well, knowing full well with great danger comes great glory and profit, and grateful to climb from the pit of despair again. Inspired, even the Admiral is keen to observe the pirate way of never shrinking from a challenge and swears the united might of Limsa Lominsa. In a united voice, the leaders declare their choice to fight for Eorzea with their own hands and burn Gaius' offer, now quickly making war plans. As they leave the military matters to the council, the group reconvenes at the Waking Sands to discuss their private matter of Thancred. Minfilia clarifies the Ascians are immortal beings without form who work from the shadows to spread chaos. As such, they trap and possess mortals by means of a crystal of darkness, and Thancred is no exception. Despite him being a talented Archon, Thancred was always overworking himself to try and fill the void left by Louisoix, leaving his mind tired and susceptible to Ascian possession. The crystal that binds its possessor to him is somewhere on his person, and by shattering the crystal, they will break the Ascian's control over him. The warrior agrees to help in this endeavor, and Minfilia highlights the fact that so many people have compared the caliber of their exploits so far to those of the legendary Warriors of Light, dubbing them a Warrior of Light guided by the crystal's will. Later, Alphinaud arrives with a plan of the 4-stage counteroffensive operation, combining every resource of the Alliance to tactically strike every Imperial stronghold on Eorzean soil. While every company would play a coordinated and crucial role in the assault, the Scions would offer their own unique support, including the Warrior, who would lead an elite adventurer unit to surgically remove key points of Imperial command, starting with Praefectus Riedeton. From there, the Warrior will convene with the Flame General's forces to disable the Magitech field generator protecting the Praetorium, a fortress within a fortress where the Ultima Weapon is housed. The Flame General forces will then suppress garrison resistance, while the Warriors group will seek to destroy the Ultima Weapon, upon which Operation Archon will be declared a success. Ready and rallied, the Scions deploy, and the Warriors quick to face down Riedeton, facing the Tactician in a personal duel. The commander conveys how the Empire was the only power in Eorzea competently dealing with the poverty, starvation, crime, and strife plaguing their lands, and how Gaius wishes to bring that peace and stability to the rest of the realm and unshackle them from their useless faith in false gods. As Riedeton himself is an outsider accepted by the Empire, he stands as proof individuals are recognized and rewarded based on their effort and deeds of worth, not persecuted out of fear or oppressed because of birth. Regardless, the Praefectus is struck down and Magitech transporter destroyed, paving the way for Alliance victory, as Gaius is outraged to learn of the Alliance's answer and eager to crush the resistance. Proceeding to Castra Meridianum, the unified army storms the keep as Cid takes over a disabled Reaper for himself. Working together, the Warrior, Engineer, and several adventurers take out the myriad of powerful foes while using the tools on hand to destroy each shield generator. Standing in their way and refusing to budge is Livia in her own armor, wholly devoted to Gaius and unconvinced the Warrior is the amazing adventurer so many claim. As they clash, the Warrior prevails, and dying, Livia only regrets losing Gaius' affection. Driving forward into the Praetorium, the Warrior's unit is met by Gaius himself, who speaks to Cid about his father Midas. The Legatus shares that Midas came to hate Meteor over time and wanted to wash his hands of it, and though he saw the project through to the end, it was not by choice. Before he was transformed, Midas confessed his regrets in life, especially those involving Cid, as he wanted his son to pursue his passion of using his skills for peace, not war. Gaius now offers Cid a chance to accept his destiny to take his place by his side, and together they can rule Eorzea as Legatus and lead engineer. Cid refuses, as does the warrior when offered the chance to switch sides, to which Gaius replies they are too dangerous to be left alive. Gaius moves ahead to the Ultima weapon, and as the group gives chase, Maggie the Magitech armor, who was also shipped here, spots and welcomes her friend again, ready to blaze a trail forward together. With Maggie's help, a bulkhead in their path is blown away, allowing them to go on as she stays behind to rest her overloaded armored core. Just beyond is Nero, who tells Cid how annoyed he is that despite all of his loyalty and accomplishments, and despite Cid's betrayal and being gone for years, somehow he is still in the shadow of Cid's reputation and viewed as second-rate to Gaius, and feels it unfair. Succeeding with Ultima Weapon is his last chance to win glory of his own, but for all his pride, Nero is still defeated by the group, but flees during a brief blackout. Taking the lift down to Ultima, Gaius approaches the group, again declaring their fight for Eorzea is a fight for a lie. He points out when in trouble, the Beastmen will summon a god for aid, yet the city-states do not, even after seeing how effective they were at Carteneau. He explains it's because the 12 are no different from primals seeking crystals in ether, and for that reason, it's baffling how people, even the great Louis Soix, cling to them. The only reason is because all the current leadership is too weak to do otherwise, and because the strong dictate the fate of the weak is why the world of man must seize power for themselves. Cladding himself in gilded armor, he challenges the warrior to prove he is the mightiest and therefore the rightful ruler for the realm. However, as a champion of Eorzea defeats the Legatus, he recognizes their strength, and laments there is no matching will to rule with it. Stepping away, he climbs aboard Ultima Weapon and enters inside the machine, only to be shocked that even with it, he cannot best the Warrior of Light. La Habrea steps in, stating the light is the issue, and only the hidden ability of the Ultima Weapon, the magic called Ultima, can shatter it. Tapping into and unleashing the almighty spell, the detonation of Ultima annihilates the fortress around them, wiping out nearly the entire Imperial army and base with it. Gaius is disgusted by such devastation and wasteful collateral damage, yet La Habrea laughs and points out it was effective in consuming whatever shielding the light could provide the warrior. However, despite all this, the group is able to overwhelm and melt the Ultima Weapon, and Gaius admits his defeat, telling the warrior it is up to them now to use their strength and break the cycle of subjugation Eorzea is trapped in. The Ultima Weapon explodes and La Habrea appears again to express his disappointment in Gaius' failure. The Ascian then adds there is an imbalance causing both physical and etheric problems in the world, and Hydaelyn is the parasite to the planet that is to blame. To accomplish this, his true god must return, and the chaos caused by the primals will ensure that. As the Bringer of Darkness and Warrior of Light clash in their ideas, just like in their vision, the warrior focuses the power of their reclaimed crystals of light, honing it into a single weapon, and banishing the darkness within Thancred. As La Habrea is successfully exorcised out, he stands before the overwhelming light of the crystal, and the warrior summons not only the power of their light, but the light of all the allies connected to them, using them to shatter the Ascian in a blinding barrage. Thancred's darkness crystal shatters, and back in the crumbling base, Maggie is there to rescue the pair. As the warrior rides out of the exploding base, the Black Wolf accepts defeat behind them, choosing to go down with the ship. Receiving a message from the Mother Crystal herself, she tells the warrior their task against the darkness is far from over, but thanks to their efforts, the realm will know peace for a while. She also speaks to Minfilia, who has gathered the allies outside, and who all cheer to see the warrior and Maggie make it out just in time, with Thancred in tow. Gathering at Silvertear Lake, sight to where the remains of Midgard Sormer and the Agrias still stand as a monument, the victorious Grand Alliance celebrate the end of the war. To the side, Alphinaud reflects La Habrea was not the only Ascian to worry about, so their enemies will only try harder now, but looking around, sees more unified allies have also grown to handle it. The Alliance leaders thank everyone, and especially the Scions of the Seventh Dawn and their champion, and point out this unity has proven they are stronger together than apart. Therefore, for a better Eorzea, the Grand Companies will henceforth remain as one. With this momentous occasion and victory of light over the darkness since the Calamity, they also declare the end of the 7th Umbral Era and the beginning of the 7th Astral Era, marking theirs a realm reborn. As the chapter ends, the warrior is hit by a new vision in which they see a massive crystal of darkness on the scale of Hydaelyn, and snapping out of it, a tremendous roar startles the celebration. A panicked scout now reports a primal has awakened, as elsewhere a new Ascian confirms Bahamut stirs again, joined by another Ascian who affirms more primals are on the way. La Habrea is among them, alive after all, as the Ascians all praise their god Zodiark. During this point of the game, Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn has enjoyed the success of having over 1.5 million players worldwide. Thank you for watching this recap, I hope it helped, and please share it with anyone who needs a refresher on the 2.0 story. I also want to give a massive thank you to Nanako Grace, who not only showed me the ropes in the game and patiently answered my questions, but is 100% the person to thank for this project, as this video would not have been possible without them. More chapters of the Final Fantasy XIV story will come, so please subscribe for more recaps like this, share with someone who could use it, and shout out to the patrons and channel members. If you would like to support the show yourself, please follow the links in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next battlefield.